So Blake Lively believes she's doing the right thing. Apparently, according to People, she has no regrets.
Blake Lively is in full-blown chaos following that. A Hollywood reporter revealed something shocking, revealing the startling reality about her conduct on set, and to be honest, I observed this. Her flawlessly manicured appearance is slowly falling apart. And who is at fault? Anyone but her own crafty personality.
And I've heard that Blake is devastated, which she should be.
It appears that finally, the meticulously cultivated persona is getting to her, and the gaps are displaying a lot of.
And the next moment, she's like, oh no, she's carrying this burden for all the other victims out there.
Blake Lively's. Officially, the Hollywood empire is under. People, the meltdown is real. Ignore the photo and the red carpets. These are the ideal Instagram posts. Unfiltered mayhem accompanied by popcorn. Dramatic value.
People magazine, everything there used to be so pro Blake Lively, and I think they had someone probably sitting there going through them and deleting the ones that were negative.
However, this battle cry seems to. Unusually, a lot of critics are expressing Blake's indignation over the fighting sexism is less important in caricature, and more about drawing focus away from the truth about her alleged dominance. The conduct on the set culminates with us.
So she says he's been harassing her, and they bring in some team, and he says, whatever you want, I will do it or not do it. You tell me.
You are aware of the type of actions that prompt directors to aim for. The closest co-stars and stress ball send their spies a covert SMS saying, get me out of here.
So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like, most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us.
However, hold on, there's more. Justin Baldoni, the protagonist of this drama and Blake's opponent in this epic battle. Blake's rivals have portrayed him as an unprofessional nightmare that asserts "It ends with us" set was a circus. Under his direction.
I'm going to give you a little background on it, and then you will be obsessed with it. And I'll tell you, there's a reason why conservatives in particular are following this so closely. It makes sense to me. All right, so you know who Blake Lively is, right?
However, Justin isn't. Instead, engaging in the blame game from Hollywood. He's retaliating with harsh, cold receipts.
And then Justin Baldoni did something very smart. He hired the lawyer who represented me in my fight with NBC News, which ended well.
And allow me to share his side of the narrative supports Blake's assertions. Appear more wobbly than a Jenga tower in an seismic activity.
When we see the truth, or some of these, at least Baldoni's truth, we see the other side of it, and that, at least according to him, and many people believe this, that she was the aggressor pretending to be the victim.
To begin with, Blake has been charged by Justin's side for being especially culturally insensitive about his Baha'i beliefs, whereas Justin's camp yells about victimhood. Team is quietly highlighting her story has contradictions. It's like a courtroom drama, but without attorneys. Our public relations teams are competing in the public space.
It's funny how she goes back and forth a lot, and how she is like so happy and so like she doesn't care in photos, going on red carpets on SNL, baking donuts, and then the next moment it's like, oh, she's sad and she regrets things, and then the next moment she's like, oh no, she's carrying this burden for all the other victims out there.
Referring to discrepancies, let's discuss Blake's victim narrative, in which she finds herself as an advocate for females in Hollywood's courageous resistance to sexism and the sounds of poisonous workplaces. Inspiring, with the exception of one small issue with the receipts.
That the actress, who is mom of daughter James and Inez and Betty, plus son Olin, with husband Ryan Reynolds, has her children's best interests prioritized through the legal process.
The side of Justin has been carefully providing proof that refutes Blake's assertions at every opportunity. Witness accounts, emails, texts, and Whatever you call it, there is a level of readiness to ensure that even the jealousy among the finest lawyers.
There's so much going on in this world. I won't talk about all the serious stuff going on in this world because I think we have enough stuff to deal with that makes us depressed.
Moreover, we must not overlook the reporters in Hollywood exposed themselves, which didn't mince words. Instead, it painted a image of a lady who is in need of control, was almost compulsive with claims of micromanagement that allegedly tense relationships on the set.
He told us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it.
Was Blake merely attempting to guarantee a hit movie, or did she go too far? Depending on the individual, although the general consensus, it appears that this was not your usual powerful situation with a woman in authority and speaking. Regarding the animation Blake mentioned, critics have pointed out that it was a sexist attack, that her anger is conveniently disregarded the far more serious concerns brought out in the content, such as her claimed inconsistencies and manipulations. The cartoon fury seemed almost like it's a startling distraction strategy, don't you think?
What's going on here? What does he say? Why is he suing them?
However, Justin Baldwin's tactic. Overall, this has been an excellent lesson on damage control, as Blake's group relies on mostly on public pleas and emotional appeals. Compassion Justin's group is adhering to the facts. There is a clear disparity, and one Hollywood is overcoming skeptics with that. Insiders are even beginning to question if Blake, the victim with authority, she says, is this a well-planned situation? Try to steer the story in the consequences have been nothing short of. The reputation of amazing Blake has taken a huge success, and the Hollywood industry is split. Some people still regard her as a feminist icon speaking out against unfairness, while some don't.
I think they instantly started spinning. I believe that they are going to be able to prove in court that this was personal. Ryan Reynolds versus Justin Baldoni, all of the evidence points.
Meanwhile, the reputation of Justin Baldwin after assault is beginning to abate as the reality, or at least his interpretation of it, emerges.
All the women out there that are watching, no matter what you do in life, you never, ever, ever go full Amber Heard. The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is not a good person.
This is not your typical Hollywood. It's a pivotal occasion in the career of both celebrities with significant stakes and no obvious winner, but Blake is certain of one thing. Officially, Lively's Meltdown is the get your popcorn and enjoy the year's biggest drama, because there is still much more to this program.
He told us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully.
Let's discuss litigation, since nothing makes it clear that I'm doing fantastically, almost like dragging someone. To hear Blake Lively's court case began with the ambitious objective of justice, and advocacy is incorrect. It's generating publicity, disguised campaign.
He hired the lawyer who represented me in my fight with NBC News, which ended well. His name is Brian Friedman, and he's a legal genius. Highly recommend if you ever, God forbid. And Brian Friedman knows how to fight back against a bully.
Writing errors were not the subject of this case. The goal was to enhance her appearance to a. After a little while, the mirror shined, damaged by the "it ends with us" controversy.
On Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie, It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence.
Blake presented herself as the next generation. Arcs John is supporting victims of abuse, but let's take a moment to. Let's go back and review the timetable. The same woman who was taping a narrative was busy discussing resiliency and abuse. The irony of promoting Jean and hairspray, thicker than the amount of alcohol she consumes. Gin brand she's stating outside. Let's discussing victims, but also saying, Don't forget to use my new hairspray. Line. She maintains it throughout. Drama in the courtroom.
So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us.
Afterward, there's Blake's timeline appears to have. Remember, there are more holes than Swiss cheese. Her alleged impulsive choice to work together with the New York Times to, yes, an expose regarding that leaked. Months of preparation were evident in the metadata. Many months for impromptu arrangements. Activism. She wasn't merely preparing to. This thing was almost storyboard, like an impromptu Netflix miniseries. I suppose I eat something on the spur of the moment. Whole pizza after placing a 30 minutes before.
And for you to do the opposite and just imply, again, more toxic crap and negativity about anything this man does must have been to seek pleasure? I mean, you were so full of yourself.
What's most intriguing is how. It seems less like a quest to pursue Blake's case, more akin to a masterclass and for justice. Her PR team's efforts to rebrand her transformed her court documents into a circus full of with acrobatics and symbolic popcorn. It seems as though the true objective wasn't the actual lawsuit, but how she was able to spin it on Instagram and in interviews. Captions.
Her on Daily Mail where she looked sad. She was at this horse event, I think, for her daughter, and she looked kind of sad. I don't know if that was the reason that people started saying that she regretted this whole feud because it was coming from some sources, but now People magazine is saying she does not regret.
Let's now examine the fallout. Enter the area where things become comically messy. The stage of the Daily Mail departed with its dejected. These Blake photo spreads weren't simply images, they were an opera of Blake looking sad and sweaty, reflective when strolling around a coffee cafe in Blake. Her dog was staring off into space as though thinking about how heavy the world is, or the captions might be her next PR strategy. Almost yelled, "Woe is Blake."
Everyone in this room, because you're here, I know this about you, you've been gaslit to high heaven every time you picked up a newspaper in the United States.
The public's wild speculation was she sorry about the lawsuit? Was she reconsidering her life decisions, or was this just another Blake lively act? Image control theater.
People magazine is saying she does not regret starting this feud.
People magazine also had something to say. However, their signature contradiction. According to one unnamed source, she was unwaveringly doubling down in her mission. Another indicated she was experiencing people with second thoughts. Pick a lane.
For you to do the opposite and just imply, again, more toxic crap and negativity about anything this man does must have been to seek pleasure. I mean, you were so full of yourself, and this guy should sue her in a way.
And after that, Blake's self-portrait is shown as a selfless activist standing up for what's. Yes, it's a worthy cause, but when you remove the shiny coatings, you begin to. It's difficult to reconcile when you notice the fissures. This is what I'm doing for the benefit of. This is what I'm doing while organizing attire for my walks with the paparazzi. If this is selfless, so I suppose I'm a mother. Teresa, thank you for providing my Wi-Fi password. Alongside the neighbor.
It's just deranged. It's nonsensical. Like, fire the whole PR team. It's dumb.
The vocabulary from. Additionally, her PR crew merits a round of. They went full of applause rather than facts. Mystic using expressions such as Blake's beliefs that don't change. What does that mean? Even mean, are we discussing her? Horoscope reading her PR or a lawsuit? Team was able to create statements so ambiguous they could be used to actual. Nothing can change her convictions. Fantastic, but what about the invoices? Sadly, Blake's story doesn't seem as natural public response and more akin to a planned trip of condolence from the thoughtfully chosen photo opportunities to the press leaks of emotions. It's all a Blake might want us, so it's a little deliberate. To think she's only a standing woman. In public, requesting that they support her cause, but for many, it appears more like a standing woman, practicing her next move while facing a mirror.
Shift. As well, an intimacy coordinator has weighed in and has said that she thinks that Blake trusted Justin at one point.
Instead of simply clapping back, Justin Baldoni brought a PowerPoint presentation with him. In reaction to Blake Lively's assertions, nothing less than systematic.
Mr. Reynolds was a key player in the scheme, defaming Justin around Hollywood, strong-arming WME, their agency, into dropping Justin as a client and trying to destroy Justin's career however possible.
As she was using dramatic flair to spin a story, Baldoni was occupied with resting deeply. Receipts, as if she had arrived at a chess game, matched the pieces of checker, and he stated, "Not today." Let's begin by discussing the evidence that Baldwin's group methodically dissected Lively's accusations like they were putting together furniture from IKEA. But there was a warning attached. Manual emails and text messages beginning claims that they looked everywhere.
Actor Adam Monsheen, who appeared alongside Blake Lively in It Ends With Us, claims the movie star mischaracterized their scene together in her bombshell sexual harassment lawsuit against Justin Baldoni.
Blake accused him of being unprofessional, but Baldwin retorted with bright timestamps and testimonials. It was a masterclass in accuracy and sincerity. It was providing Phoenix Wright's top lawyer with. However, what added layers to this was the purportedly present cultural bias. Baldoni is a prideful character in Blake's story. A Baha'i religion adherent was discreetly shown as different in her charges. It's the sort of hint you'd hope. In 2D25, Hollywood had moved on, but Blake's narrative is presented here, whether on purpose or not, played into prejudices that weaken Baldwin's personality and individuals observed.
How manipulative she's been. How she's trying to rewrite the history of it all.
Then, the Hollywood shift arrived when Blake was also once the red carpet sweetheart. At first, the tide was going Baldoni. Quiet became an articulate, grounded voice. Contrast to her progressively erratic. Asserts that his composed manner, combined with his evidence-based strategy, began reversing the victimization narrative. Hollywood and the head adore a redemption arc.
Is now offended by her implications in the lawsuit that he wasn't even qualified for this small little nothing role.
Not to be overlooked is actor Adam, hat-throwing Mansion with some grave insult to the Ring Mansion, who worked on Blake's It Ends With Us. Accusations that are inaccurate and offensive.
He was great. I mean, he did a really good job at balancing being both, a lead actor in the film and then being a director and a producer. And honestly, the entire crew that he assembled was just so incredible.
He refuted her assertions concerning intrusive scenes, making it clear that everything was done with the highest. He wasn't just being professional in his defense. It was the sound of a microphone dropping, unraveling of the story.
She sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, mother of dragons.
Blake now. Lively has a lot of experience spinning a nice yarn. However, the threads in this instance are fraying a little. Let's chat about her. Anecdote: a tale about Disneyland prison. So it's so insane that it demands a Lifetime film. Blake stated that she was questioned as a kid for pilfering a Mickey Mouse figurine. Eraser: a Disneyland interrogation as if the happiest location for security on. There is a black site for rogues on Earth. Toddlers.
And Blake Lively went to the New York Times, and the New York Times wrote the sympathetic poor Blake Lively story. Oh, we were all wrong about her and her weird PR. She's actually a good person and a Me Too victim.
And this, Blake's stories have been told before, have raised their eyebrows, recalling the notorious interview with Letterman in which she stated that they began attending school at age 3 because she claimed to be just that. Clever, modest, and boastful, the woman possesses a history of adding embellishments to stories to the point at which you're uncertain about listening to a Netflix pilot or a memoir pitch.
And I wonder why, narcissistic women they do this. It just seems as though I'm thinking because it's something they can control, like they can control like the cooking and the ingredients is something they have agency over.
Her storytelling wasn't only about talking. Displays Blake's appearances on either. Strategic PR was used by Saturday Night Live. While she is baking, she mines gold, donuts, and pretending to be the next girl. The next door, she's dropping cautiously. Well-chosen clues about her tenacity. It's an oscillating game of emotional ping-pong between being completely unconcerned and then bearing the burden of the entire globe. During the gene age of flying, Blake went on a press tour as a simple favor. Hard to promote her hubby, Ryan Reynolds' gins to the extent that reporters were even lifting their eyebrows when discussing a dark, edgy film before switching to try this gin. It's similar to a martini, but better. The criticism wasn't limited to the blatant plugs were the subject of it's all tone deaf, and let's not ignore her times on the red carpet when every position seems to shout, "Look at me," but try not to stare too closely. Blake was able to transform looks in public into walking a tightrope between vulnerability and conceit. One moment, she's a shining example of strength one moment and a relatable mother the next. Joking about baking isn't stunning, no doubt, but also draining to stay up to date with.
How manipulative she's been. How she's trying to rewrite the history of it all.
Blake's publicity plan or modification based on your perspective is in and of itself an art form, but when the facade begins to break through all of the baking, no amount of donuts in the world can make the story. It's becoming evident that whilst she excels at managing the attention, occasionally the light shows more than she meant to.
Blake Lively is not a good person, that she has proven herself not to be a kind person, okay? And that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any.
Blake Lively's formerly immaculate, untouchable reputation is currently searching for, like a mirror that has broken into Let's begin with 1,000 sparkling bits. Will we do this with People magazine? The journal that addressed the topic in practice. Blake has long admired Hollywood royalty. For her, they put out the red carpet, making gimmicks about her flawless marriage, work, and life, but now the tone has changed.